Starting. Hi, this is Heather Havenwood, and welcome to Hangouts with Heather. Today, we're a little late today, and we apologize. Had some technical difficulties here with Google Hangouts, but I guess that happens sometimes. I just want to say congratulations, Joe, for getting on your first Google Hangout. Is this not really cool, or what?
This is cool. This is cool.
It is. It is. All right, I'm going to hide. Well, it's, Google Hangouts are a lot of fun until they don't work, right? But as you know, technology has grown and grown. You started with newspapers and direct mail, and sometimes just things don't work, right? So this is just a normal marketing stuff.
Right, exactly.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to, if anyone who is watching this Google Hangout or Hangout with Heather and he doesn't know or she doesn't know who Joe Sugarman is, I'm just going to, you really been once called the mail order maverick by the New York Times, and you really are a pioneer in business and in marketing. Your accomplishments are legendary and really unlikely that any other marketer has really sold more than you have with your pen, Joe. So I'm really excited to have you on here. And just a few more things about Joe. He has used direct marketing to get the world's first pocket calculator into many hands as possible, and this led to the formation of JS&A Group Incorporated, which led the industry in cutting-edge gadgets long before Sharper Image and Brookstone even existed. And Joe introduced the cordless telephone and digital watch to the public through his revolutionary catalog, as well as introducing the concept of toll-free numbers that take credit cards. Oh my gosh, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Which is great. I love that. And switching gears, Joe actually discovered a glass technology that blocked 100% of the UV light and also 100% of the blue light. He used that technology to create a sunglass product under the name Blue Blockers, and coupled with his direct marketing skills, led the sale of 20 million pairs, not dollars, pairs of Blue Blockers. And Joe has shared the unique psychological triggers that has brought him unparalleled success. So here's one of your books, Joe. I have all your books here next to me. And that's the great thing about video. You have Triggers, one of my favorite books. It's signed, actually, by you. Woo-hoo. And here it says 30 sales tools that you can use to control the mind of your prospect to motivate, influence, and persuade. This is an amazing book. I absolutely love it. But just some other books that he has, just a few. The Adweek Copywriting Handbook. Actually, I'm going to read to you guys real quickly a testimonial by Al Gore. You have a real talent for promotion and writing advertisement. Al Gore. That was pretty impressive. I have to ask that story. And then the next, see, there was a good one in here too. Oh, right, of course. Person who started, who's this guy? Oh, hold on. Sharper Image, your competitor, right? There are a lot of great copywriters, but Joe Sugarman is the best. He knows how to build a story and close the sale. Anyone who wants to sell better will enjoy advertising secrets of the written word. Richard Thalmeyer by the Sharper Image. So thanks for coming on. And we actually are going to talk a lot about marketing today, but more importantly, talk about something that you are doing here the next week and flying out from Maui. I don't know where you're at right now, if you're in your home in Maui or in your business location in Vegas. So thanks for being on here, Joe.
Well, it's my pleasure, Heather, and I am in Las Vegas getting ready for my trip to Connecticut, where I have that speech, the Titans of Direct Marketing, they call it. So, okay. Anyway.
We can't really hear you. Can you increase your speaker just a little bit?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get a little closer. How's that?
That's better. Yeah, just get a little closer. That always works, right?
I'll tell you what. Let me...
So as he's doing that, there's some other books actually I want to show with you that I have. The Marketing Secrets of a Mail Order Maverick. Can you see that?
Yeah.
This thing is like really thick. I love this book. I got this years ago before I even met you, Joe. I think it was back in 2005 or 6 that I got this book before I even met you. and I just absolutely love it. But my favorite book of all times is Success Forces. Now I'm going to show a picture. You ready? You ready?
Oh, jeez.
That's the young Joe. Look at that. That's great. I love that. He's so cute.
You know, that's funny. Do you hear? By the way, do you hear me better now?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
But
good.
do you see the library card?
Nah, you
Yeah, I
bought
got this on
it in a book.
Amazon. I got it on Amazon used, and somebody in the Newman College Library of Pennsylvania didn't return their library book. Bad person. Back in 1997, but now I have it.
Well, that book is roughly about 32 years old, or actually 34 years old, and I've revised it. The new book is coming out within a week. So your favorite book will be updated, and you'll get a big kick out of the new book. Yeah. But I appreciate that because that was one of my favorite books too.
It really is one of my favorites, and I love the fact that it's has the stamp from the library right here. You can't really see that. It's got the plastic on it from the library. It's great. But it is time-tested information about success forces and things you've used to actually become successful in your life. So when is that going to come out? Next week?
Well, I'll have copies next week, finally. But and that's after 34 years. I mean, keep in mind, I've been working on this for the last couple of years, but upgrading it, updating it, and there's a lot of good information. Basically, it's really about karma. In other words, if you do something right, you're going to benefit from it. If you do something wrong, you're going to fail. And I put all my success philosophies in the new book. Everybody thinks I'm this huge success. I failed more times than anybody could possibly imagine. My failure rate was used to be I fail 9 times and succeed once, but that one time was strong enough to cover all the rest of them. The other thing I want to mention is that I am not one of these gurus who goes out and teaches people direct marketing. I'm actually in there doing it. I've done it. I've been there, done that. I've failed. I succeeded. And so my advice comes to you from personal experiences. And I've saved, literally, I've lost millions because I didn't follow some of my own principles, and which I could share with you as well. Well, let me share something with you, okay? Yeah, we introduced the first toll-free number ever used. And what happened with that was that we always had these big print ads, and there was a coupon around it. And you had to have the customer's signature on the coupon for it to be a valid order. If you didn't, the credit card companies would drop you in a minute, if you were playing games like that. Well, I would get calls, people wanting to buy the pocket calculator, and they were in a rush, and they said, just sign my name, sign the customer's name. So I said, well, okay. So I did that for about 6 months, and I realized, hey, this is a really great service if I provided a toll-free number that people can call in and place an order on the telephone, and we just sign their name. Well, I did that, and I was so successful with that. I mean, it just buried us with orders. Everybody loved it. In our coupon, we just put a little credit card buyers call toll-free. That's all we had. Credit card buyers call toll-free. Little type. But everybody saw that. They called toll-free. They placed their order. And we got more orders than you can possibly imagine. Well, after doing that for about 6 months, my competitors would call me. And they said, Joe, are you having any rip-off problem? People trying to rip you off, by... And I said, yeah, you wouldn't believe the rip-off rate. I didn't want them to copy it. Well, then I get a call from the credit card companies, from Bell Systems. And they said, Mr. Sugarman, we know what you've been doing. And I said, uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. And they says, no, but we think the idea is fantastic, and we've been monitoring your success, and we would like to make it now possible for everybody to place an order over the telephone, toll-free, and make it a legal transaction with the credit card companies. And that's exactly what happened. And so that's how it all got started. Now what's interesting is this. In our ad we had a little coupon. And in the coupon, more people ordered through the toll-free number. More people ordered through the toll-free number than they did just sending in a check. In fact, it was like 90% of them ordered for a toll-free number. So I said to myself, you know what? I am going to forget about the coupon. I'll just put the toll-free number at the end. That makes sense. Because I'm getting 90% of my order, right? Well,
Right.
I did that. Okay, big mistake. I'm reading this book from England. This guy wrote this book, and he said, if you're going to sell something, make sure you have a coupon with dotted lines around it because you'll get a bigger response.
Huh.
So I said, wait a second. Well, we were doing an insert in United Airlines, and I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to test that concept because we were printing the insert as well. So I had 4 different versions of my ad. I had the ad the way I'm running it with just the toll-free number. I had the ad with the coupon and the toll-free number. I had a couple other versions of it. One version showed a dotted line by the spine of the magazine and also arrows pointing to the coupon. It was real schlocky. Anyway, to make a long story short, I discovered that my strongest response came from when I used a coupon.
Mm.
Who would have known? And I figured out, in fact, there was a 30% greater response. And I figured out that in the 2 years that I had been running these toll-free numbers and selling toll-free, that I had a couple $1 million on the table. Now, what this points out is the importance of testing. The importance of testing. You've got to test everything. And if you don't, you're making a big mistake, because anything like, as innocent as that, I mean, I left $2 million on the table. I could have made that money just simply by adding that coupon or keeping the coupon there.
You know, it's
So
interesting. You know, it's interesting, the more our technology gets better and better. I mean, here we are talking live from Las Vegas, Nevada, and Austin, Texas, and we're talking live, you know, and we're streaming live. This was definitely not possible 5 years ago, 10 years ago, really 30 years ago. But marketing still is marketing, and you've got to test what people want and what they're willing to do, and how you see how much money you're leaving on the table. I think we all do that. I just find it fascinating that your book, I mean, especially triggers right here. I mean, I feel like I'm trying to sell it. Honestly, this book right here is on my desk all times because it really is the psychological triggers of the human being, of the buyer that you've tapped into. It's sales tools, but it's also triggers of why we buy, why we act, you know, why people all of a sudden love the telephone. Now we see that it was easier, right, to pick up the phone and say numbers and to buy something than to write it out. But, you know, that's a psychological trigger, you know. So it's fascinating to me how. So now, you know, now that you said earlier you don't teach people direct response marketing. What are you doing nowadays?
Well, we're still doing blue blocker sunglasses. Believe it or not, it's been 28 years, and we're still doing very well with it. So we're still online. If you want to check it out, it's blueblocker.com, and you can spell blue blocker any way you want. You've got to, but the correct spelling is BLUBLOCKER. And we're selling our various styles, and we're strictly on the internet. It's really interesting. We started out in print. And then we ended up toll-free numbers, and then we ended up newspapers and magazines, and then infomercials. We did a big job with infomercials and you know, TV and QVC, and then we went retail to Walgreens and a few other major Walmart and all these stores. And the technology just changes with it. Well, now we've got the internet, and the internet to me is one of the most incredible testing vehicles, one of the most incredible sales vehicles you can possibly utilize, and that's why we focus all of our efforts now on the internet. By the way, are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, no, great. I am hearing you great, actually. And I find that fascinating that you're the only person I've met over the years that has taken a product to market in multiple places. You've said, not only just TV, but infomercial. You've done direct mailing. You've done direct to consumer via advertorial and advertisement in magazines. And now you're doing internet, all with the same product. I mean, it's changed over the years, plus retail, CVS and other drugstores. Now, I have asked you the question, out of all those different points that you've marketed to, what was the what was the easiest, or what was the best rate of return, or which one would you, other than the internet, direct to market, or maybe it is the internet, what's the easiest platform nowadays to really test and do something and bring a new product to market? If someone's listening and says, I have a new product to market, I don't have 28 years, well, where would you tell them to start?
Well, I think the internet is the place to start, and what I always advise people is to read everything they can about the subject that they really are interested in, or that they want to market it. That's what I did. When I was a young guy, I was working actually in New York for about a year, helping my father out. He had an office out there, and everybody quit on him because he couldn't afford to pay him, so of course he hired me. But what I did was, I was supposed to be a salesman for him. And before I could be a salesman, I had to study everything I could about salesmanship. And I read everything. Dangerous Selling by Elmer Wheeler. You name the book, I read it. And I really immersed myself. And that's my recommendation to anybody, is just become an expert. Become an expert in what you are trying to accomplish. When I see a product, and in fact, let me get back to one of the things you asked. And that was that what did I find to be the most successful method of marketing? And just to give you an idea, we were in print, and we were doing a fairly good job, and we were in print for like 8 months with Blue Blockers. It was doing really well. And we sold 100,000 pairs. And I thought that was just terrific. That was one of the best. But then I heard they were coming out with allowing infomercials. So I said, I'm going to try that. And everybody thought I was nuts. They said, how could you spend a half hour selling a simple piece of sunglasses? And I said, well, television is really an entertainment vehicle. And if you can entertain your audience, they'll watch, they'll listen, and they'll respond if you do it properly. And so I decided to make up an infomercial for a half hour, which I did. And remember, I said over 8 months I sold 100,000 pairs? Within 1 month of going on TV, I sold 100,000 pairs, and we got that number up to 300,000 pairs. So it was very, very big. So I found that the infomercial was one of the most powerful mediums we used. But the internet, you could have a hit; it could go viral. There's so many opportunities, and you can test. Testing is so cheap. It's so cheap on the internet. By the way, the reason I'm on the internet, I was on QVC for almost 20 years and Walgreens for almost 20 years. The reason I got off of those is I looked at Tony Hsieh, the president of Zappos, and that guy's just on the internet. He does $1 billion a year. And I said, well, if Tony can do it, I certainly can give it a shot. So I'm working at it. I'm still not quite there.
You're a mini Tony. I get it. That's great. So we were going to talk about today, the name of this presentation was Marketing Miracles, 7 Clever Ways to Turn Failures into Success. And I think we've already said one already, which is test. How do you turn failures into success? The first thing is to test everything and test every part of your marketing. But I kind of wanted to make sure that, the people that came to this webinar and this hangout today, they at least got those, at least 6 or 7 ways to turn failures into success, because I definitely know from experience, and you know this, and you and I've actually had conversation about this over coffee in Vegas, which is, if you, as an entrepreneur, you learn how to fail, and I've learned how to fail, as an entrepreneur, and you taught me that. You taught me that. You said earlier you've had success, but you failed more than you have had success, and honestly, every time I talk to someone who wants to start a business, I tell them, look, you're going to have to get up down there and get down there, but you're going to fail. You got to have some skin knees and some broken bones there. But so how do you turn failure into success versus just wallowing in it? How can we do that?
Well, first of all, let's see, I'll give you a couple examples, but one of them was when I first introduced the pocket calculator. I went to all my investors, and people that I knew that always said to me, Joe, if you ever want to start a company and want an investor, let me know, because they all had been following me. So I said, okay, so I decided I'd sell the pocket calculator. So I tore out an article that appeared in Business Week, and I brought it to one of my clients who, incidentally, was into the electronics area, and I showed him the article about the pocket calculator. It was the first one, and I said this would be a great product, and they looked at it and they said, who'd pay $240 for something that added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided? Why don't you do it yourself? And so I said, okay. So I did it myself. I got a hold of my investors, and I said, now you'll put up the money. If we're successful, you'll double your money, and then I'll have the company so I can continue on and sell other products. So they agreed, and I did that. I created the ad, and I ran the ad, and sent it out to 50,000 names, direct mail, and I lost half the money. Now, you would think this would be a failure. I went back to my investors. I said, hey, I tested every list that I purchased. I purchased 10 lists. And of the 10 lists, 2 of them were very successful, but the rest were so bad that it brought down the response. Let's go back and let's retest using the lists that worked. And so, again, it's another example of testing. But the point being that if I would have not tested those lists, I would have failed. This way I turned failure into a success simply by doing that. I got a lot of other examples. Direct marketing in general is very counterintuitive. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means this. You look at something and you say to yourself, oh, okay, this looks like it'll be a big success. And you try to do it, and it fails. And you'll look at something else and you'll say, oh, this thing is going to fail, but I'll test it anyway. And it's a big success. So a lot of times it's the opposite of what you intuit. So what you got, I'll give you a good example. The Swiss Army watch people came to me and said, Joe, we want you to introduce our watches in the United States. And I said, well, I'm very honored. And we have 9 models for you to sell. I said, really? I said, example, well, we've got this khaki one, we've got this one in black, we've got this one in red. And then we've got a child size, a woman size, and a men's size. So I said, well, you want me to run an ad for it? Yeah, we want you to run an ad. I said, well, I'll run an ad for the black one only. And they said, well, why are you doing that? Because you can broaden the market with all these other styles. And I said, trust me, I've had the experience. I have failed when I've offered too many examples. Let's just offer one. But I'll tell you what, we're going to test. We're going to test all 9 in one ad, and we're going to test just one in another. And sure enough, that's what we did. And we were 30% more sales for the simple black pair that we offered versus the 9 pair. And of course, the product, their product, became a big success in the United States.
Now, this is really interesting, Joe. I want to interrupt you for a second because that's a great point. And I've experienced that myself. But I mean, you just said something that a lot of marketers don't want to realize, which is if they have different colors or different products, they want to market all of them versus one and one color. And you just pointed out a test that you did that increased sales through that. But it happens a lot on internet. I mean, I know that myself, but you taught me that, and now through email marketing, through video sales letter, direct response sales letter marketing, we usually focus on one product. You know, it's like that laser focus by this one product. And then nowadays we have these things called upsells, you know, well, the back end products of 1 or 2 or 3, but they won't sell that until they buy the first hoop. And you see that in also in infomercials. I'm curious, did you use that? They call that what they call that lead. The lead. They try to sell that $10 thing on the infomercial, and then once they get them on the phone, they're upselling them. Is that something you did as well in your experience with GSNA Group?
Well, JSNA, yeah, well, first of all, in this watch example,
yeah,
what I told them was that you take all of those styles and you put them in a catalog, and you just offer one. And when people buy the one, that creates a mailing list, and then you sell to that mailing list. And so I've learned focus is extremely important. It's one of my principles, is to focus on a single product, get the point across, and then you go on from there. Let's see. I have some philosophies I'd love to share with people out there, but
yeah, awesome. No, I'd love to hear philosophies on success.
Okay. Well, everything, I believe this sincerely, that everything works out for the best, even if it doesn't seem so at the time. So you may fail at something and say, oh my goodness, this is the end of the world, but it actually is a benefit, and you'll discover that benefit later on. I also have another example. Every problem has within it an opportunity so great it dwarfs the problem. And that's how I discovered Blue Blocker. I had a problem, and I didn't know what to do. And I called a friend of mine, and I said to him, I was in Los Angeles, and I saw this pair of sunglasses you had that was built for NASA. And he says, oh, you don't want that, it's too expensive, and the guy that's making them is going out of business. I says, but I just had a page drop out of my insert in United Airlines. I'd like to substitute that product in that page, and I'll figure out a way to get the product because I have a couple months to source it. So he said, oh, okay. So he sends me the pair, I photograph it. It was the huge success. That's what started me off, and that's what made millions of dollars. Well, that alone, was... it was just, gee whiz, a good example of what I'm saying. I had a problem, and I solved it, and I found the opportunity within that problem.
Okay, so just repeat real quick, because those two alone are revolutionary, and you and I spent a lot of time together and broken bread and had dinner together, and honestly, those two philosophies have taken me through many failures and many situations. The first one is everything happens for the best. I want to make sure everyone writes that down. Not everything happens for a reason. My mom told me that one. Everything happens for a reason. Of course, your brain goes, well, what's the reason? Why is this happening to me, right? Versus, Joe, you taught me everything happens for the best. And you're welcome to go into that more. But what was the second one? What was the second one? You said it a specific way.
Every problem has within it an opportunity so great it dwarfs the problem.
Every opportunity say it real slow.
Every problem has within it an opportunity so great it dwarfs the problem.
It dwarfs the problem.
And never be attached to any outcome. If I fail at something, I don't get all upset and want to quit and all that. If I fail at something, I just look at and try to figure out what the opportunity is in there, and what I missed and what I learned, and I go on. And I have tried so many things. I've innovated in so many areas because somebody else was afraid to go in there, and I wasn't afraid to fail. You remember this? Batman credit card, right? 48. Yeah, this is 48 years old. It's a Batman credit card. It's 48 years old.
Here, put it up again so people can see it. You didn't put it in the limelight. Put it up again.
Oh, there we go.
Look at that.
Isn't that something? And it's got on the back, it's got the humorous terms and conditions. And anyway, the story behind this card was a beautiful example. Where do I start? But anyway, in 1966, Batman appeared on TV. And in addition to appearing on TV, credit cards first came out. That was the year that Bank AmeriCard came out, Master Charge came out. It had different names. And so I came up with this idea. I was a young kid, and I said to myself, why not have a Batman credit card, utilizing both fads, because the Batman was a fad already. Everything that had Batman on sold like crazy. And so I decided to meet with the Licensing Corporation of America, who are the people who license the rights. And I did, and they absolutely loved the idea, and they told me to go out and print 250,000 of them, which I did. And I ended up with 250,000 Batman credit cards. But I didn't get their contract. And I called them up and I said, the president of National Periodical Publications, who owns the right to Batman, doesn't like your idea, so please, you can't even sell it or he'll sue you. So I said, oh my God, I got 250,000 Batman credit cards. What am I going to do? Well, every couple of years I would call the licensing corp and try to get permission. And finally, in the year 2000, I'm giving a seminar, and as one of my guests was Dan Kennedy, a famous guy who's into marketing, direct marketing. And Dan Kennedy came up to me and says, Joe, you know that Batman credit card? And he says, yeah, I know that. He says, well, I just want to mention, you gave me one. I gave one to my friend. My friend gave it to his son, and his son put it on eBay and sold it for $400. I said, what? I says, oh my God. I took out my calculator and I figured out I had $100 million worth of Batman credit cards in my warehouse. Of course, it all doesn't work out that way, but I still have these cards, and I give them out at speeches, and I give them out at various times. But that was one example of this complete failure. But if you wait long enough, and here's long enough, you might be successful. I have so many experiences I could share.
If you wait long enough, so what's the philosophy there? If you wait long enough, something better will happen?
Never give up, I guess, is one of the lessons. And if you wait long enough, you never know what could happen. You could have a collector's item.
Yeah, you told me that one too many years. Never give up, never give up. And I think as an entrepreneur, sometimes we want to give up. As business owners, entrepreneurs, marketers especially, we try to test products over and over and over again, and then they fail and fail. Market doesn't want them, and then all of a sudden one hits. But the best story you've ever told me, you just spoke about it, which is the blue blockers. And you already said the story, but I just vision you driving down the LA Boulevard with the 101, right? You're driving down the highway, and it's sunny, and you're like, oh, it's sunny. You're here in LA or in California, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I need some sunglasses. You put them on, and that's your future business. Just like literally came to you, and I don't know where you were at financially in that moment as you were an entrepreneur. I don't know, but it's fascinating how things can just come to you when you're ready to have them happen. I always wanted to ask you that, and you may or may not be willing to answer it, but where were you in your life when that showed up? Where were you in your life? Meaning, how were you? Yeah.
This is an interesting philosophy that I've had and I've shared with a lot of people, and that is very simply this. We were doing very well. We had JSNA. We had electronics. I was not into sunglasses. I took the opportunity to go into that because I needed something. What I have found in life is you go along in a certain direction, and then something hits you, or some opportunity comes up and heads you into a totally different direction, and that's where the big success lies. And that's happened to me a couple times. But the point being is, here I'm driving down the 405, and this guy shows me a pair of sunglasses, and I put them on. I didn't squint. I said, these are incredible. He says, no, you don't want them. They're too expensive. They were made for NASA, for the astronauts. And the whole thing unfolded from there. So, again, you're headed in a certain direction in your life, and then something comes up and diverts you 90 degrees in a different direction, and that's usually where you make your big fortune.
Something personally, and I think I've shared that with you, is sometimes I get paralyzed of what direction to go. Like, well, what's going to be the best direction for me to go? And you've shared that with me a long time ago. Just like, go in that direction, and something will come of it. And a year ago, you and I did an event in Las Vegas in October, Success Magnet Seminar, and it was a huge success. There was a lot of amazing things that came out of that event alone. And then next week you're going to do another event. I think it's the only event you've done since since Vegas and Success Magnet Seminar. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember you traveling any time in the last year to do the thing. And now you're going to do another big event with a ton of copywriters on stage. And I'm going to let you say who those guys are in just a second. But at our event, you and I did an event in Success Magnet Seminar, and we had legends, Joe Polish, John Benson, John Carlton. You was there, obviously, and just amazing speakers and copywriters. And what I found fascinating about that event was the biggest, I would call it, complaint that I got, or feedback I got, was people didn't think it was real when they saw the marketing. So many people didn't go that wanted to go, but didn't think it was real. And so, and I laugh at that now. But here you are going to be at a stage similar with Dan Kennedy, Abraham, yourself, and who else? Who else is going to be on that stage? And you can go to the link, heatherhagenwood.com/Titans. You can see the list. I'm just curious, not only who's going, but why are you going to be there? Why are you doing this event, Joe?
Well, Greg Renker's going to also be there. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be there. And what's the purpose of this event? Well, I was very close to Marty Edelson, the guy that owned Bottom Line Reports, and was a pretty successful direct marketer in his own right. And I was one of his favorite. People. And I also got to know Brian Kurtz, and really we got along really terrific. And I'd appear at a few of their meetings, and so we had a really good relationship. Well, he decided he would throw on, in honor of Marty Ellison, throw on a bigger event called the Titans of Direct Marketing. And these were some of the top people that have proven themselves year in, year out in direct marketing. And I was invited as one of the principal speakers, and there were a few others invited, quite a few others invited. And it was one of these things that everybody felt was really an honor to, first of all, honor Marty Edelson. But
well, it's going to be a great event. It's going to be in Connecticut next week, and people, if you're interested in going, you can go to the link below, heatherhavenwood.com/Titans. And yeah, it's. I'm just going to read off a few of the people that are going to be there. Let's see here. Here we go. Let's see. Of course, Dan Kennedy, Greg Rinker. I guess I've gone through Rinker, which is cool. Jay Abraham, Ken McCarthy, Perry Marshall, Fred Katona. He did all kinds of stuff with Priceline. I love Fred. He's a lot of fun. Let's see. David Douche. I can never say that name. Arthur Johnson, Paris Paris, I can't say that last name, and Eric Buthal. I don't know him either. And of course, from the desk of Brian Kurtz, you're welcome to go check it out. And it's going to be a big event with some legendary speakers going to be there about direct response marketing. But going back to the seven secrets on how to overcome, failure. Let's go back. I have written down right now four or five here. So what are some other ways that marketers today can really overcome failure in entrepreneurship?
Well, I think the main thing is you really got to study your market, study the people, study the philosophies or psychology of who you're dealing with. Become an expert. That is really the key. I had one example where I was going to join a fraternity house. And
I love this example. This is good. I like this. It's fun. It's great. I love this. This is good. Please tell the story.
I was going to join this fraternity house, and what happens typically in a situation is the fraternity that holds a party during a specific week, and people go to the party and they get to meet the brothers in the fraternity, and then they decide later which fraternity they want, and then the fraternity decides which person they want. Well, I was a pretty cool guy back then. I had my own Corvette car. I had an attractive girlfriend, and I would go to these various parties and and everybody was trying to get me to join, and I just absolutely was very independent about it. And finally, it came time to pick the fraternity, and I picked the absolute worst fraternity. It was the worst one on campus. Everybody was shocked. He says, why did you pick that fraternity? And I said, I will explain after the pledging period. You go through a period where you pledge, and anyway, to make a long story short, we go through the pledging period, and I get up in front of the fraternity, and I said, I'm going to tell you the couple secrets so that on the next party that you hold to acquire the brothers, if you follow my directions, you will be very, very successful. So they all said, oh, okay, tell us, we'll do it. I says, number one, I want you brothers, as much as you hate each other, I said, I want you to walk up to, when you're introducing a brother to another person interested in joining the fraternity, I want you to say something like, here is Jim. Jim is the greatest guy in the world. He is the most wonderful person you'd ever meet. So I want you to just flower that person, even if you don't like him. Just do that. And they said, okay, we can do that. What's the second thing? The second thing is real simple. We go to Miami Beach, because I went to the University of Miami, and we hire 3 or 4 of the most sexy strippers that they have. And and they all looked at me and they says, what? And they said, yes. And so one says, one guy says, could I volunteer to pick them out? And I said, no, wait a second. We're gonna do this. We'll send a team over, and the prettiest we'll invite to our fraternity party. And so that's what we did. And the first party was pretty good. The girls were there, and they were having a great time. In fact, they were telling their other girlfriends about it, and they were supposed to have like 3 weeks of parties. So the first week, and the brothers are walking up to each other and showing their love for each other, and the girls are going around and they're meeting some of the potential future brothers. Anyway, by the time the second party hit, the place was jammed. By the time the third party hit, you couldn't even get in the place. What happened? The strippers hired, or not hired, but invited some of their friends. So there were about 10 strippers in this meeting. Anyway, to make a long story short, they ended up with the biggest pledge class ever in their history, and it was in the middle of the semester of the year. So it was not something that typically is done at that time of the year. So anyway, I knew my market. My market, people that are interested in joining a fraternity, want brotherhood. They want to feel that they're accepted and loved by their fellow brother, and they want a place where they can meet some really sharp, attractive young ladies.
Yes.
And of course,
yes.
We provided it. We provided it. So, and then, and I have experiences. Another one, when I was in the Army, I got drafted in the Army. I was in the University of Miami. I had 3.5 years of electrical engineering. I was in ROTC. I was going to be a second lieutenant. I get a draft notice. They draft me. I get sent to Fort Carson, Colorado. They give you all the tests. I got one of the highest grades on the test. There were 2,000 troops. I got one of the highest grades. Anyway, so because of that, I was told that I was eligible for Army intelligence, which is kind of an oxymoron. But anyway, so I had to put in an extra year or two, and they sent me to Fort Carson. Excuse me, they sent me to Fort Holabird, Maryland, which is the spy school. It's a spy school.
The spy school. You became a spy?
School. Yeah, they train you to be a spy. And then the idea would be that they send you to some foreign country, you'd learn the language, and you'd go around in civilian clothes, you'd never have to wear a uniform again. Well, if you can imagine, they had bunk beds there, and if you go into this huge washroom, on one side they had sinks and mirrors for the guys to shave, and on the other side they had these showers, and in the middle of that was this huge fan. And it was in the middle of winter, and that fan, when it went on, it kept the mirrors clean, but if you were trying to take a shower, it was cold. So I'd go over to the fan and I'd shut it off, and some guy would see his mirror getting fogged, he'd go over and turn it back on. And this went on for about a few days, and finally I said, you know what, I got an idea. I went to the office supply store and I got some materials to make a sign that looked military. And in the middle of the night I got up and I wrote on the sign, Anybody touching this fan switch and turning it on or off will be subject to dismissal from this group and will be charged with Part 407 of the Military Justice Act. And I posted it real early in the morning. I walk into that shower area. I shut off the fan. I turned on the shower. Nobody touched the fan. I finished my shower. All the mirrors were fogged up. I go back. I turn on the switch for the fan. I did this for about 3 weeks until I was called down to the commanding general's office, and he says, "Sugarman, sit down. I understand you've been violating Part 407 of the Military Justice Act." And I said, "Sir, let me explain." And I told him the whole story. And before I could even finish, he starts laughing. And I says, "What's wrong?" And he says, "Sugarman, we need more people like you. That is ingenious. I love it. In fact, I've got a special assignment for you. I'm going to send you to Germany, and you're going to be part of this special group." And sure enough, he sent me to Germany. They taught me fluent German. I still speak it to this day. But that's kind of stepping out of the box, coming up with something clever, coming up with something that people don't expect, and turning failure to enjoy a decent shower, into success, into an opportunity. And it served.
What a great story. I love the part you violated the Army Code of 4.5753B, whatever it was. And people just assumed it was true.
Yeah, that was my rule. What is this?
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. That sounds like something I would do.
So anyway, that was, I've had so many experiences in my life and so many failures too, and again, you learn from them. But I was always willing to try something that nobody else would be willing to try. Nobody would be willing to make up a sign like that for the Army. Nobody would be willing to stick their neck out in a lot of situations like that, and I did. I took a chance. I took a chance to take toll-free orders, and it turned out to be an opportunity for the entire direct marketing industry. When you think about it, it exploded after that. After that, after we allowed the toll-free order taking, you had fulfillment centers that got set up. You got order taking people that set up. You had all kinds of things expand because now people could order very easily. Whereas before, they had to fill out a coupon, send it in, wait 10 days. We solved all of that. So you never know.
It's also, taking that chance and instant gratification. I mean, we take credit cards over the phone today to buy airline tickets, to buy whatever we want, and that's revolutionary. It's still happening today, and I love the fact that the credit card company called you and said, "Hey, we know this is kind of technically illegal, but we're going to make this legal because we see the huge opportunity." And just like now you're in spy school, or you were in spy school, and then you go to Germany and you speak fluent German. We speak something in German just for the heck of it? I don't know if you...
Ich war beim Flughafen in wo war ich? Ich war beim Flughafen in Maui, und weil ich da war, habe ich gehört, 2 Leuten Deutsch sprechen, und ich glaube, ich habe mit diesen Leuten vielleicht etwas, das wir sprechen können. Yeah, that's you kind of shocked me, but when you start, no, seriously though, when you start talking it, after a while, it all comes back. I've been on QVC in Düsseldorf, Germany, speaking German and selling my blue blockers in German, and of course, the credit card. I forgot about this. This is the blue blockers. This is the standard aviator in white, and our blue blocker box. We've been in business like 30 years, and we've had a great run and a lot of fun. I look forward to sending you, Heather. I look forward to sending you my new book, The 7 Forces of Success. Probably will be on Amazon in about a month. It's called The 7 Forces of Success. It's kind of the revision of the success forces that you liked and you read.
Well, good. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. And will you mind putting back on the aviators, because that was just a great shot. I have to get a picture of that. Would you mind? There you go. That's it. Hold on.
We have them in white, and we also have them in black. Let's see. I'm getting out the black there. and then we have them in black. And this is the style, believe it or not, that sold very close to 20 million pair as a result of the internet, as a result of infomercials. We were on infomercials for 6 years and did very, very well. So, with that in mind.
Well, thank you for being on here. Any last words for anyone, just any entrepreneur or people who are thinking about coming to the Titans event, or I don't know, anything? Or your next book coming out, Success Forces. Any last words?
The 7 Forces of Success. And I just want to say, this is something I always say at the very end of my talks, because when I get up there, I tell stories, and I tell stories about the failures I've been through. And everybody's expecting all these success stories, but some of these failures are pretty funny. And so people laugh a lot. But what I always end up the speech with is something that Winston Churchill did, and that really influenced me. And I always say this at the end. What happened was Winston Churchill. There was a school in this little town in Missouri. I forget the name of the town just offhand, but it was a small little town, and it was a commencement time, and they had to come up with a commencement speaker. And so they had a meeting, and at the meeting they discussed who would they choose? Who would they choose to give this commencement speech? And somebody says, well, why don't we invite Winston Churchill? Winston Churchill at the time was a senior, diplomat. He was retired, of course, but and very old. And everybody laughed at him. He says, yeah, sure, why don't you write him and ask him? So he did. He sat down, he wrote him, and he got a letter back saying, yes, I'll accept. They couldn't believe it. They thought it was a forgery. And they checked, and sure enough, it was real. He wanted to come to give the commencement address at this, Fulton, Missouri is the place, Fulton, Missouri. So he arrives, they fixed up the whole town for him. They thought it was the most incredible experience for that town. Anyway, they go to the commencement address. He's sitting on the side, and the mayor of the town gets up and he talks about 5-10 minutes about how impressed they are and how much appreciation they have for Winston Churchill being in their town, the most famous person ever in Fulton, Missouri. And then the principal of the school gets up and says, we're just absolutely delighted. This is the most exciting opportunity. And so then they call up Winston Churchill to make this speech. And he's really an old guy by now. I mean, he's shaking, and he walks up to the podium and he holds on to the thing and looks out at the audience. And there's a moment of silence, and he looks out and he says, never give up, never give up, never give up. And then he sat down, and that was his commencement address. And you know something? That's been my philosophy ever since. Never give up. That's a true story, by the way.
No, I get that. Never give up. Never give up. That's pretty impressive. I mean, that's really entrepreneurship in life, isn't it?
It is. It is. And the entrepreneurship takes a lot of guts and a lot of not giving up. And but eventually, if you stick to it and you never give up, you're going to be successful. But again, become an expert. So important. Become an expert, and you'll be amazed at what you discover.
Thank you, Joe, from city. I guess where you're at in Vegas. Thank you so much. Did I interrupt you? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say also, and I really appreciate you. You're a blossoming entrepreneur in the making, and I really respect that. And I've tried to support you in the sense of appearing with you and doing these hangouts and all that kind of stuff, because I really do feel you have a lot to offer people, and you're just I really appreciate you. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. It warms my heart very much. Very honored to have you say that. Well, you're welcome. Thank you for your time today, and I guess people will see you are in Connecticut in a week. All right, Joe, I'm going to sign off. Heather was like Hangouts with Heather. I'm Joe Sugarman. I hope you guys really liked this. This was, I think, a great interview and great webinar. Share it with your friends. Have a good time, and be you, be real, be the boss of your life.